Captain Alex Morgan stood on the bridge of the Pathfinder, Earth's first true deep space vessel. The ship hummed with energy as it prepared for its final jump, the one that would take humanity farther than they had ever gone before. "Final checks. Complete, Captain," said Lieutenant Sam Carter from the security station. His broad shoulders were tense, but his voice remained steady. "All systems green." "Thank you, Lieutenant." Alex nodded, then turned to the science station. "Dr. Bennett, sensors ready?" Dr. Ellie Bennett looked up from her console, her eyes bright with excitement. The xenobiologist had waited her entire career for this moment. "All ready, Captain. We'll record everything we find out there." Alex took a deep breath and tapped the ship-wide communication system. "All hands. This is the captain speaking. In 5 minutes, we make the jump that will take humanity beyond our solar system for the first time. Whatever we find out there, remember that we represent all of Earth. Morgan out." The bridge fell silent as the crew focused on their tasks. The Pathfinder was small by science fiction standards, but it represented the pinnacle of human engineering. The newly developed jump drive was theoretical until 6 months ago. Now, they would test it across a distance that would have taken conventional engines decades to traverse. "Jump drive charged to 100%, said the navigation officer. "Coordinates locked." "Engage," Alex ordered. The stars on the view screen blurred, and for a brief, terrible moment, every person on the bridge felt like they were being pulled inside out. Then reality snapped back into place. The Pathfinder had arrived. "Jump successful," the navigation officer announced, her voice shaky but professional. "Position matches target coordinates." "Begin sensor sweep," Alex ordered. "Let's see what's out." Alarms blared before Alex could finish the sentence. The tactical display lit up with multiple contacts. "Captain, we have 5 vessels approaching," Lieutenant Carter reported, his fingers flying over his console. "Configuration unknown. They're not responding to standard hails." Alex frowned. First contact was always a possibility, but the odds seemed astronomical. "Keep trying all frequencies, Dr. Bennett. Any insights?" Ellie studied her readings with growing concern. "The ships appear to be heavily armed, Captain. Energy signatures suggest weapon systems far beyond our capabilities." "This doesn't make sense," Alex muttered. "The chances of encountering another species during our first jump? Maybe not so random," Carter suggested grimly. "What if they detected our jump signature? What if they were waiting?" Before Alex could respond, the largest alien vessel fired. A beam of energy sliced across the Pathfinder's bow. "Shields at 60%, someone shouted. "Evasive maneuvers," Alex ordered. "Try to open distance. Continue broadcast on all channels. We come in peace." The Pathfinder banked hard, but the alien vessels moved with superior precision. They surrounded the Earthship in a perfect tactical formation. "Captain, I'm picking up a transmission," said the communications officer. "I think they're responding." The main view screen flickered, revealing a being that sent chills down everyone's spine. It resembled a reptile, but with multiple eyes and limbs that ended in razor-sharp claws. When it spoke, the ship's computer struggled to translate. "Unknown vessel. You have entered Varaxian space. Identify species and purpose." Alex stepped forward. "I am Captain Alex Morgan of the Earth vessel Pathfinder. We are on a mission of peaceful exploration. We did not know this region was claimed territory." The alien's eyes narrowed. "Earth. Unknown world. Unregistered species." It made a gesture to someone off-screen. "Prepare for boarding and cataloging." "Cataloging?" Ellie whispered. The alien continued. "The Varaxian Empire requires all new species to be properly classified. Your technological level suggests potential use as labor class. Resistance will result in reclassification to research specimens." Alex's face hardened. "We have no hostile intentions, but we will defend ourselves if attacked. We request time to establish proper diplomacy is for equals," the Varaxian interrupted. "New species are not equals until proven otherwise." Lieutenant Carter moved closer to Alex. "Captain, their weapons are charging again. Whatever they're planning, I don't think we want to be here when they do it." Alex nodded slightly. Prepare the jump drive for emergency return. Priority 1 is getting warning back to Earth. The drive needs 10 minutes to recharge, the navigation officer said quietly. Then buy us 10 minutes, Alex replied. All hands, battle stations. What followed was brief and brutal. The Pathfinder fought valiantly, but was hopelessly outmatched. The Varaxian ships toyed with them, systematically disabling critical systems while keeping the ship largely intact. Jump drive at 60%, the navigation officer called out as another hit rocked the ship. Alex made a quick decision. Dr. Bennett, Lieutenant Carter, get to escape pod 3. Take all the sensor data we've gathered. Captain, we can't leave you, Ellie protested. That's an order. Someone needs to survive if the jump fails. Alex turned to the communications. Officer. Send everything we have back to Earth on tight beam. Tell them we found something out here and it's hostile. As Ellie and Sam reluctantly headed for the escape pod, the Varaxian commander appeared on screen again. Your resistance is puzzling but irrelevant. Your species will be properly categorized and utilized. Alex smiled thinly. If you're so advanced, you should know better than to judge a species by its first ship. The Varaxian made a sound that might have been laughter. We have conquered thousands of worlds. Your primitive vessel tells us everything we need to know about Earth. Then you've made a terrible mistake, Alex replied calmly. The Pathfinder shuddered as a tractor beam locked onto it. In the escape pod, Ellie and Sam watched in horror as Varaxian soldiers boarded the main ship. The last transmission from the bridge was Captain Morgan activating the emergency jump protocol, sending a data burst toward Earth even as the ship began to break apart. 3 days later, Ellie Bennett found herself in a sterile laboratory on a Varaxian vessel. Through the transparent wall of her cell, she could see other crew members being systematically examined and dissected. Sam Carter was in an adjacent cell, his face bruised but his eyes alert, watching for any opportunity. A Varaxian scientist approached Ellie's cell. Your species is physically unimpressive, it said through a translation device. Poor natural defenses, no significant strength, limited sensory capacity. It tilted its head curiously. How did such weak creatures become the dominant species? On your planet? Ellie looked directly into its multiple eyes. On our world, we weren't the apex predator because of claws or strength. We were the apex predator because we simply refused to die. The Varaxian made a dismissive gesture. Irrelevant. Your world will be easy to harvest. We detected your transmission to Earth. Our fleet is already preparing for conquest. As the alien walked away, Ellie and Sam exchanged glances. The Varaxians had no idea what they had just done. Earth would now prepare for war, and these aliens would learn why humans had always been the most dangerous species on their planet. They think they've seen what humans are, Sam whispered. They haven't seen anything yet. 8 months passed since the destruction of the Pathfinder. Earth had changed in ways no one could have imagined before Captain Morgan's final warning reached home. Factories that once made cars now built weapons. Schools taught combat alongside math. Farmers planted extra crops for the coming war. The entire planet prepared for the fight of its life. Admiral Grace Howard stood in Earth's new Defense Command Center, carved deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Screens covered the walls showing the positions of hastily built defense platforms in Earth's orbit. Her gray hair was cut short, and her eyes rarely blinked as she studied the reports before her. Admiral, we've detected multiple jump signatures at the edge of the solar system, said a young officer. His voice cracked slightly, but his hands remained steady on his console. Grace nodded once. Sound the global alert. This is not a drill. Sirens wailed worldwide. Civilians moved to underground shelters while military personnel raced to their stations. In orbit, the crews of Earth's makeshift defense fleet prepared for battle. Chief Engineer Paul Murphy watched from the command deck of the Orbital Station Defender. His creation, a massive railgun powered by what had once been a nuclear power plant, was pointed toward the incoming threat. Similar weapons platforms surrounded Earth, a patchwork defense system built from whatever humanity could piece together in 8 desperate months. Power levels optimal, Paul reported. Targeting systems online. On a diplomatic vessel positioned behind Earth's moon, John Rivera made frantic final adjustments to the transmitter that would broadcast on all known frequencies. Earth had discovered they weren't alone in the galaxy. Perhaps they weren't alone in this fight either, broadcasting our plea for assistance, John reported to command, though I doubt anyone will answer in time. What none of them knew was that they were being watched. Hidden behind the gravity well of Jupiter, vessels from a dozen alien civilizations observed. The Galactic Council had been monitoring Earth for decades, debating when to make contact. Now they watched in silence as the Varaxian war fleet approached, curious to see how these isolated humans would fare against the galaxy's most notorious conquerors. The Varaxian fleet emerged from jump space with overwhelming force, 50 warships, arranged in perfect attack formation. Their commander, war leader Krek, viewed the human defenses with contempt. Primitive weapons, Krek said to his officers. They've had mere months to prepare. This conquest will be brief. His second-in-command pointed to the tactical display. They've concentrated their defenses around their homeworld only. The outer planets are unprotected. They don't understand basic strategy, Krek replied. Begin the attack pattern. Standard. Conquest protocol. The Varaxian vessels moved forward confidently, ignoring the small human ships that scattered before them. What appeared to be a retreat was actually a carefully planned strategy. As the alien fleet passed the orbit of Mars, Admiral Howard gave the order. Initiate Operation Hornet's Nest. Hundreds of small objects that had appeared to be space debris suddenly activated. Simple nuclear mines, attached to small thrusters, swarmed toward the Varaxian fleet. At the same time, Paul Murphy's railguns opened fire from multiple platforms, launching specially designed projectiles at near light speed. War leader Krek barely had time to register surprise before the first impacts hit his fleet. 3 Varaxian vessels erupted in flames immediately. The others scrambled to raise shields, but the humans' attack came from too many directions at once. Impossible, Krek snarled. How could they develop such weapons so quickly? On Earth, Admiral, Howard watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. Launch the second wave, she ordered. Small fighter craft burst from hidden bases on the Moon and Mars. These weren't sophisticated space fighters. They were essentially missiles with human pilots, carrying payloads designed to penetrate Varaxian. Shields based on the data from the Pathfinder. The humans are using suicide tactics, a Varaxian officer reported in disbelief. They're deliberately crashing into our ships. The hidden observers of the Galactic Council watched with growing astonishment. A representative of the Arcanites, an ancient species nearly wiped out by the Varaxians centuries ago, spoke quietly to his colleagues. Look at how they fight. No species adapts this quickly. No species sacrifices this willingly. An explosion rocked war leader Krek's command ship. Alarms blared as systems failed across the vessel. Half the fleet is damaged, or destroyed, his tactical officer reported. These humans. They're fighting like cornered prey with nothing to lose. Krek hissed in fury. Deploy the landing forces. We'll take their cities one by one. 5 Varaxian troop carriers broke through Earth's defenses, heading for major population centers. What they found shocked them further. The cities were evacuated, rigged with traps and defended by humans who fought house to house with desperate ferocity. In what remained of New York City, Varaxian soldiers moved cautiously through empty streets. Their commander stepped into an abandoned building and triggered a manually set trap that collapsed the entire structure, burying his unit. Similar reports came in from around the globe. The humans had studied the Varaxian tactics from the Pathfinder data and adapted their defenses specifically to counter them. They gave ground only to lead their enemies into ambushes. They destroyed their own infrastructure rather than let it fall into alien hands. After 3 days of costly fighting, war leader Krek faced an impossible decision. His invasion force, meant to conquer the planet in hours, had lost nearly 40% of its strength. We must retreat and return with the main fleet, he finally ordered. These humans are not fighting by any rational rules of warfare. As the battered Varaxian vessels prepared to jump away, Admiral Howard's face appeared on their communication screens. Her uniform was torn and bloodied, but her eyes burned with determination. "You came expecting sheep," she said, her voice calm, despite the destruction around her. "But we've been wolves wearing sheepskins all along. We will burn our own cities to the ground before we let you have them. Return with your full might if you wish. We'll be waiting." The transmission cut off. War Leader Krek stared at the blank screen, feeling something unfamiliar: doubt. "Set course for home," he ordered quietly. "The Supreme Imperator must be informed. This will not be an easy conquest." As the Varaxian fleet jumped away, the observers from the Galactic Council emerged from hiding. They had seen enough to make a decision. "The humans fought with unexpected skill," noted one observer. "Not skill," corrected the Arcanite representative. "Desperation. Determination. They knew they couldn't win, yet they fought anyway, and they hurt the Varaxians badly." "Should we contact them now?" asked another. The Arcanite shook his head. "Not yet. Let's see what they do next. If they can survive the coming main assault, then they will have proven themselves worthy of galactic citizenship. And if they don't survive, then the galaxy will never know what it has lost." On Earth, as the Varaxian fleet disappeared from their sensors, Admiral Howard allowed herself a small smile. "Damage report," she ordered. "Severe, ma'am. Millions dead. Most major cities damaged or destroyed." She nodded grimly. "Begin rebuilding immediately. Next time they'll bring their full force, and next time we'll be ready to do more than just defend." Major Kate Wilson moved silently through the shadows of the Varaxian outpost. Her 5-person team followed close behind, each step careful and measured. They wore armor pieced together from captured Varaxian technology and Earth materials. Their weapons were similarly hybrid, human ingenuity combined with alien power sources. "Target is 50 meters ahead," Kate whispered into her comm. "Remember, we need the data and at least one prisoner. After that, we plant the explosives and get out." Her team nodded. They had run this kind of mission dozens of times in the year since the failed Varaxian invasion. Each raid provided more technology to study, more intelligence about enemy movements, and more fear spread among the Varaxians. Back on Earth, Dr. Ryan Cooper waited anxiously for the team's return. His lab was buried deep underground, safe from orbital scans. Around him, captured Varaxian devices lay in various states of disassembly. Ryan had a gift for understanding alien technology. In the past year, he had helped humanity advance centuries beyond where they had been. "Any update from Major Wilson's team?" he asked his assistant. "Not yet, sir. They went dark 3 hours ago as planned. Extraction is scheduled for 0400. Ryan nodded and turned his attention back to the device on his workbench. It was a Varaxian energy core, small enough to hold in one hand, yet powerful enough to run a small city. If he could just understand how it worked, Earth's power problems would be solved. In another section of the facility, a Varaxian prisoner watched humans come and go with wary eyes. The aliens had given him the designation Prisoner 7 Delta, but the human guards called him 7 for simplicity. He had been captured during the first invasion attempt and had spent months refusing to cooperate. 7's attitude began to change when he noticed something unusual. The humans treated him well despite his resistance. They provided appropriate food, medical care, and even reading materials. They asked questions but never resorted to torture when he refused to answer. This behavior confused him greatly. A human entered his cell area, an older male with kind eyes but a serious expression. This was John Rivera, who had moved from his role as diplomat to prisoner liaison. "Good morning, 7, John said. "I've brought something I think you'll find interesting." He placed a tablet on the table. It showed images of a distant planet. "This is Arcanus," John explained. "Home of the Arcanites. Your people nearly wiped them out 2 centuries ago." 7's face remained impassive. "War is the way of the universe." "Perhaps," John agreed, "but it doesn't have to be. We've made contact with the surviving Arcanites. They're willing to help us." For the first time, Seven showed emotion, surprise. Impossible. The Arcanites are isolationists. They do not involve themselves in galactic affairs. John smiled slightly. They made an exception for us. It seems your empire has made many enemies over the centuries. Enemies who see humanity as a potential ally. Miles away, Kate Wilson's team had reached their target, a Varaxian communication hub. They moved efficiently, neutralizing guards with silent weapons. Kate accessed the main computer terminal and began downloading data while her team secured the area. "Major, we found something unusual," reported one of her soldiers. "It looks like they're gathering a massive fleet, much bigger than the first invasion force." Kate frowned. "How soon?" "According to these files, 3 months, maybe less." Kate finished the download and nodded to her explosives expert. "Plant the charges and find me an officer to take back." As they moved deeper into the facility, they encountered heavier resistance. In the firefight that followed, 2 of Kate's team were wounded. They found themselves cornered in a command center, a dozen Varaxian soldiers closing in. "Extraction. Point is compromised," Kate said calmly into her comm. "Plan B." She turned to her team. "We have what we came for. We're not leaving this place intact." Her team understood what this meant. One of the wounded soldiers handed Kate the detonator. "It's been an honor, Major." Kate looked at each of her people, then pressed her emergency beacon. "Earth needs this data. When the charges blow, head for the secondary extraction point. I'll hold them off." Her second-in-command shook his head. "We came together. We leave together." Before Kate could argue, Varaxian soldiers burst through the door. The humans fought with unexpected ferocity, holding their position until the extraction shuttle appeared through a hole blown in the ceiling. As they retreated, Kate set the detonator for a shorter time than planned. The shuttle barely cleared the facility when explosions tore it apart. As they flew away, Kate recorded a message and left it on a frequency she knew the Varaxians monitored. "We were never afraid of dying. We were only afraid of dying for nothing." The Varaxian commander, who later found the recording, forwarded it to his superiors with a disturbing note. "These humans do not fear death as rational beings should." Back on Earth, Dr. Cooper reviewed the data Kate's team had secured. "This confirms our worst fears," he told Admiral Howard during an emergency meeting. "They're sending their main fleet, thousands of ships." Admiral Howard's face remained calm. "Then we have 3 months to prepare." "Dr. Cooper, what's the status of Project Spear?" Ryan displayed a hologram of a new weapon system. "We've successfully integrated Varaxian power systems with our delivery platforms. The prototypes are ready for testing." "And our new allies?" Howard asked, turning to John Rivera. "The Arcanites have provided technical specifications for advanced shield technology," John replied. "And more importantly, they've introduced us to other species who oppose the Varaxian Empire. We're not alone anymore." In his cell, Seven watched recordings of human children training for war, of elderly humans working in factories, of people from around the world united by a singular purpose. He had initially dismissed humans as primitive and weak. Now he felt something new: uncertainty. When John visited again, Seven asked a question that had been bothering him. "Why do your people fight so hard? You must know you cannot win against the full might of the Empire." John considered this. "Throughout our history, humans have faced extinction many times. From nature, from disease, from each other. Each time we've adapted and survived. It's what we do. But you've only had space, flight for a few decades. The Empire has ruled for millennia." "True," John acknowledged. "But there's an old human saying, the most dangerous creature is one that has nothing left to lose. Your Empire gave us no choice but to fight." Seven was silent for a long moment. "The Imperator believes you will surrender when the main fleet arrives." "We won't," John said simply. "And that's what terrifies you, isn't it? Not our weapons or technology, but the fact that we simply refuse to give up." In the deep reaches of space, members of the Galactic Council continued to observe Earth. Half were terrified by humanity's rapid militarization. The other half were impressed by their resistance against a common enemy. They learned too quickly, argued one observer. If they survived the coming attack, they could become as dangerous as the Varaxians themselves. The Arcanite representative disagreed. They fight for survival, not conquest. That makes them different. For now, warned another. But what happens if they win? What will they become then? The question hung in the air, unanswered. The fate of humanity and perhaps the galaxy would be decided in the coming battle. General Eric Butler watched the holographic display of Earth's defense fleet with a mixture of pride and concern. 3 years of war had transformed humanity from victims to warriors. Ships that once would have seemed impossible now patrolled the solar system, built from a combination of reverse-engineered Varaxian technology and human innovation. Status report, Eric ordered. His aide displayed the latest intelligence. The Varaxian main fleet has been divided. Half remains in their home systems, defending against our raids. The other half continues slow advance toward Earth. Eric nodded. The delay had been hard-won through countless hit-and-run attacks. Each week gained was another week for Earth to prepare and build. And the retribution? He asked. Commander Ortiz, reports all systems ready. They await your order. On the bridge of Earth's first true battleship, Commander Lisa Ortiz reviewed final preparations. The retribution was humanity's masterpiece, larger than any vessel they had built before, powered by technology that didn't exist 3 years ago. Lisa addressed her crew. Today we stop running. Today we bring the fight to them. A cheer went up from the bridge crew. They had trained for this mission for months. Every person aboard knew the stakes. Jump drive charged, reported the navigation officer. Coordinates locked on Varaxian supply base Theta 9. Lisa took a deep breath. Engage. The massive ship disappeared in a flash of light, leaving Earth's orbit for the first time since the war began. In his laboratory deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, scientist Justin Patel made final adjustments to a device no larger than a suitcase. His team watched anxiously as he connected the power source. Is it ready? Asked Admiral Howard, who had come personally to witness the test. Justin nodded slowly. The Void Hammer works in theory, but Admiral, even with Arcanite guidance, this technology is beyond anything we've attempted. If it works, it could end the war. If it fails, we've run out of time for caution, Admiral Howard replied. The Varaxian Imperator has taken personal command of their fleet. Intelligence suggests they're bringing planet killers. Justin sealed the device. Then I'd better make sure this works. Deep in Varaxian space, the Retribution appeared near a massive supply station. Before the aliens could respond, Lisa's ship launched a barrage of weapons that tore through the station's defenses. Target their fuel reserves, Lisa ordered. Prepare, boarding teams. Unlike conventional military tactics, Lisa didn't just destroy enemy assets. She captured them. The Retribution had been designed with large cargo bays, specifically to steal Varaxian supplies and technology. Commander, they're launching fighters, her tactical officer reported. Let them come, Lisa replied calmly. Spring the trap. What appeared to be debris floating around the Retribution suddenly activated. Automated weapon platforms disguised as battle damage. The Varaxian fighters flew straight into the trap and were decimated. Boarding teams report success, the communications officer announced. They've secured the primary storage area and are downloading their database. Lisa allowed herself a small smile. Set the charges. Once our teams return, we jump to the next target. Over the next week, the Retribution struck 5 more Varaxian bases. They never stayed long enough for the enemy to mount a proper defense. Each attack followed an unpredictable pattern. Sometimes they destroyed everything. Sometimes they stole supplies. Sometimes they simply left messages in Varaxian language. We are coming. News of the attacks reached the Varaxian Imperator aboard his flagship. The supreme leader of the Empire had never personally led a military campaign until now. The human resistance had become more than a minor annoyance. It was a threat to the stability of the Empire itself. How can one ship cause so much damage? The Imperator demanded. His military advisor displayed the attack patterns. They do not fight by any rules of engagement we recognize. They study our weaknesses, then strike without warning. They do not celebrate victories. They simply move to the next target with terrible efficiency. The Imperator hissed in frustration. Recall additional forces from the outer territories. I want this human ship found and destroyed. The recall will delay our assault on Earth, the advisor warned. Earth can wait, the Imperator decided. Commander Ortiz must be eliminated first. She has become a symbol of human resistance. What the Voraxian leader didn't realize was that the Retribution's attacks were only part of a larger strategy. While Lisa's ship drew attention, smaller human vessels slipped behind enemy lines, making contact with planets that suffered under Voraxian rule. On one such world, Dr. Ellie Bennett, rescued months earlier from Voraxian captivity, met with local resistance leaders. Her time as a prisoner had given her unique insight into alien psychology. The Voraxians maintain control through fear, she explained to the gathering of different species. They want you to believe they are invincible. They have ruled for thousands of years, said one alien leader doubtfully. No one has successfully challenged them. Ellie smiled. Until now. My people have been fighting them for only 3 years, and already we've pushed them back. She showed them recordings of human victories, of the Retribution's raids, of Voraxian ships retreating from Earth. Join us, she offered. Earth doesn't want to rule you. We only want our freedom, and yours. By the time the Retribution returned, to Earth, rebellions had broken out across a dozen Voraxian-controlled worlds. General Butler greeted Lisa when she docked. Excellent work, Commander. Your raids bought us the time we needed. For what? Lisa asked. Come with me. He led her to a secure facility where Justin Patel was preparing to load several Void Hammer devices onto specialized delivery ships. What am I looking at? Lisa asked. The end of the war, Justin replied. Or at least our best chance at it. He explained how the device worked, how it created a localized disruption in space-time that could disable any ship caught in its radius, without destroying it. No more needless deaths, General Butler said. We capture their ships intact with crews alive. Lisa looked confused. Why would we want to capture rather than destroy? Because this isn't about vengeance, Butler explained. It's about sending a message. We could kill them all, but we choose not to. That distinction matters. The Galactic Council observers who had been watching Earth's resistance with growing amazement now debated intensely about the humans' next move. They've developed technology that even we considered theoretical, said one observer. And yet they use it to capture rather than destroy, noted the Arcanite representative. Perhaps our fears about them were misplaced. The debate was interrupted by an urgent alert. The Void Hammer devices had been deployed. Across Voraxian space, their military vessels suddenly found themselves adrift, weapons and engines disabled. The Imperator watched in horror as reports flooded in. Ship after ship, disabled without destruction. And on each captured vessel, the humans left a single Voraxian crew member free to tell what happened. They moved like shadows, one traumatized survivor reported to the Imperator. They knew every weakness in our defenses. They took our ships without firing a shot. For the first time in his long life, the Voraxian Imperator felt something unfamiliar. Fear. Not of defeat. The Empire had faced setbacks before. This was fear of something new and unpredictable, something that didn't fight by any rules he understood. The humans were coming, and now they were headed for the Voraxian homeworld itself. The Voraxian homeworld gleamed like a jewel in the darkness of space. For thousands of years, no enemy had dared approach this well-defended planet. Its orbit bristled with defense platforms, and the most powerful ships in the Voraxian fleet stood guard. It was a fortress that had never fallen, until today. Admiral Sam Carter, once Lieutenant Carter of the Pathfinder, stood on the bridge of the flagship Freedom. The years of war had changed him. His face bore scars, and his eyes held the hard look of someone who had seen too much death. But today, there was something else in those eyes. The promise of an end. All ships report ready, Admiral, his second-in-command announced. Sam nodded. Open a channel to all vessels. When the connection was established, he spoke clearly and calmly. This is Admiral Carter. 4 years ago, I watched as the Varaxians destroyed our first starship and killed her crew. They took me prisoner thinking humans were weak. Today we proved just how wrong they were. He paused, looking at the tactical display showing Earth's fleet. Hundreds of ships gathered from across human territory and from allies they had made along the way. But remember your orders, Sam continued. We are not here for revenge. We are here to end this war. Minimal casualties. Precision strikes only. Carter out. The human fleet moved forward as one. At the same time, rebellion broke out on a dozen Varaxian-controlled worlds. The Empire, which had seemed invincible for millennia, suddenly found itself fighting on multiple fronts. On Earth, President Olivia Franklin addressed the United Nations. Her calm demeanor belied the tension of the moment. Today may be the day. This war ends, she told the assembled leaders. What comes after will define humanity for generations. We did not start this conflict, but we will finish it. And when we do, we must remember what we fought for. Not conquest, not revenge, but the right to exist in peace. Dr. Ellie Bennett stood beside her, now serving as Earth's expert on alien psychology. The years in Varaxian captivity had given her unique insight into how their minds worked, insight that had helped turn the tide of war. The Varaxians respect only strength, Ellie explained to the assembly. But they define strength differently than we do. To them, mercy is weakness. We must show them that our kind of strength, the strength that includes compassion, is superior. Meanwhile, the battle for the Varaxian homeworld had begun. The human fleet deployed their void hammers, disabling the outer defense rings without destroying them. Special forces teams led by veterans of Major Wilson's raiders boarded and secured key platforms. The Varaxian Imperator watched in growing horror as his defenses fell. Not through overwhelming destruction, but through careful surgical strikes that left his forces intact but helpless. How are they doing this? He demanded of his generals. Why can't we stop them? Their technology has evolved beyond ours, one general admitted reluctantly. And their tactics are unpredictable. They don't fight like any species we've encountered. The Imperator's anger turned to fear as reports came in of human ships approaching the palace itself. Not with weapons charged, but with a simple message broadcasting on all frequencies. Surrender, and no more lives will be lost. In orbit above the Varaxian homeworld, Sam Carter received word that the Imperator was willing to talk. He took a small shuttle down to the surface, accompanied by a security team. Among them was Seven, the Varaxian prisoner who had spent years learning about humans. They will expect a show of dominance, Seven advised as they approached the palace. It is our way. Sam nodded. We'll do this our way instead. The meeting took place in the grand hall of the Varaxian Imperial Palace. The Imperator sat on an elevated throne, trying to project power even in defeat. Sam walked in calmly, wearing a simple uniform with minimal decoration. You have fought impressively, the Imperator acknowledged. No species has ever breached our homeworld defenses. We didn't want to fight at all, Sam replied. You attacked us without provocation. We defended ourselves. The Imperator's multiple eyes narrowed. What are your terms? Sam handed over a data tablet. Unconditional surrender. All Varaxian forces will stand down immediately. All occupied worlds will be granted independence. And Earth will take its place in galactic affairs as a sovereign power. You would destroy our empire? The Imperator hissed. No, Sam corrected. We would end your empire's aggression. Your homeworld and original colonies remain yours, but your days of conquest are over. The Imperator seemed confused. You could destroy us completely. Why don't you? Because that's not who we are, Sam answered simply. 3 days later, representatives from across the galaxy gathered to witness the formal surrender ceremony. The Galactic Council, which had observed humanity's rise from frightened prey to galactic power, officially recognized Earth as a member world. As the Varaxian Imperator signed the treaty, he looked at President Franklin with confusion. What? Do humans want as reparations? Territory? Resources? Technology? President Franklin shook her head. We request only the return of all human prisoners and legal recognition of Earth's sovereignty. The Imperator seemed puzzled. You've taken nothing else? After all we did? You've taken enough from us, she explained. We don't want your worlds or wealth. We just wanted to be left alone. Remember that the next time you think of crossing us. As the ceremony concluded, the Arcanite representative approached Sam Carter. You have accomplished something remarkable, not just defeating the Varaxians, but doing so without becoming like them. Sam looked out at the gathered representatives from dozens of worlds. Some watched humans with admiration, others with poorly concealed fear. What happens now? He asked. That depends on what humanity chooses to become, the Arcanite replied. Your species has proven itself the most adaptable, the most determined, and perhaps the most dangerous in the galaxy. How will you use that power? Months later, at a meeting of the newly formed Galactic Council, a young species proposed military action against a resource-rich system that refused to trade with them. Before debate could begin, a representative simply displayed records of the Earth-Varaxian War. The proposal was hastily withdrawn. In private chambers afterward, one representative asked another, "Why are these humans so feared? They've shown no territorial ambition since joining the council." "That's precisely what makes them so terrifying," came the reply. "The Varaxians fought for glory and expansion. Humans fought because they believed their survival depended on it. And there is nothing more dangerous in this galaxy than a species that will do absolutely anything to survive." On Earth, Ellie Bennett stood with Sam Carter at a memorial for those lost on the Pathfinder. The first casualty in a war that had changed humanity's place in the universe forever. "Do you think Captain Morgan would be proud of what we've become?" Ellie asked quietly. Sam looked up at the stars, now filled with possibilities rather than threats. "I think he'd be proud that we survived, and that we did it without losing what makes us human." Across the galaxy, a new saying began to spread among spacefaring civilizations. Make friends with humans, respect their boundaries, and you'll have the most loyal allies in the universe. But threaten their existence, and you'll discover why they are the galaxy's most feared species.